guys, welcome. And if you're new here, my name is Elaine, and on this channel I talk about bags from mid-range to vintage luxury. And today I'm going to be talking about when to buy mid-range and when to buy vintage luxury. As a long-term collector of both, I like getting both types of bags. There's some people I understand, they don't want to buy mid-range. They much rather buy vintage luxury. The resale is better. It's a brand name. But other people, they don't want to do vintage luxury or they're not ready yet, so they buy mostly mid-range. So anyways, today I'm just going to be going over the pros and cons of both, since I'm an avid collector of both. And now my tagline is from mid-range to vintage luxury. So I figured this is an apt topic for me to cover here. I guess I'll start with mid-range. So a little discussion here about the mid-range bags that I have right now. I have this Songmont Mini Your bag, and then back here I have my Polène Noof East-West bag, both just recently featured in my most worn bags of this past winter. I do have quite a few mid-range bag collection videos as well as sort of chit chat. I feel like it is a growing field, and mid-range bag brands come out with great stuff all the time and their quality is growing better and better. So when to buy mid-range bags? So I guess first and foremost, I would advocate buying mid-range bags if you like brand new bags. Don't want to do any sort of upkeep. Sometimes you have that new bag smell. You don't want to have to maintain a bag. You don't want to have to clean it. You don't want to have any sort of unexpected surprises. Then I would definitely say go for a brand new mid-range bag. I would also say go for mid-range if you want more of a trendy bag style. So when a bag style gets popular, sure, the luxury brands will do it, but so will the mid-range brands. So like the East-West style is pretty popular now. You can find these styles for a great price with the mid-range bags. If you want a bag that you can kind of throw around, use and abuse, I would say also go for a brand new mid-range bag. Vintage bags, depending on the bag, they can be a little bit more fragile. They will need to be maintained, and their leather will not be as hardy sometimes because they've lost their moisture or they've been in an environment with mold, or so you never know. Mid-range bags, especially the good ones. So I mean, of course, if you get a not so great mid-range bag, you use and abuse it, it will fall apart. I think Polène in the past has quality issues when it came to that. I do think they've fixed it though. I hear less and less about it, but I think Songmont also provides great quality. And Florian, Michino, all of these, they make great items so that even if you do throw it around, it is not going to break apart. It is going to be as good, if not better, than some of the luxury bag choices out there. And then I would say last but not least, if you're looking for a more lightweight bag, a bag that's not so heavy, I would go with a mid-range bag. Vintage luxury, I feel like back in the day, yes, they used better materials, but also their idea of luxury meant a very heavy-duty, thick leather bag. I would say luxury bags in general, especially back in the day, tend to be heavier overall. I think nowadays, even luxury bags can be lightweight because they're switching out the interiors for nylon or cotton, or they don't have feet, or they have minimal hardware. So, current luxury is probably just as lightweight as mid-range in a lot of sense, but the price is also like 10 times more, if that. I mean, even more than that, really. So, and like I said, I have a bunch of mid-range chit chat videos, and so you can refer to those if you're looking for a high quality mid-range bag brand. Now I'm going to switch over to vintage luxury. So vintage, I mean, I know it means either 20 to 25 years ago. I have a little bit of a mix. I don't know if this is a real term, but in Japanese YouTube, I heard the word next vintage, like next to vintage, like give it another 5 years and it will be vintage. So I do have a lot of vintage and next vintage bags, but basically old secondhand bags. I think pre-2010 is a good start for quality. I think heading into the pandemic, maybe after the pandemic, quality has gone down for multiple brands and margins have increased for these other conglomerate brands. So the vintage bags that I have here today is this Prada nylon one that I actually just got recently. I'm waiting to clean it up. That's going to be another video. And then I have my toolbox. I think this toolbox is actually from 2010. So again, this is next to vintage. It's not quite vintage, but it is also a style that is no longer made by Hermes. So that's point number one. If you want a style that gives you some nostalgia, or you just loved it and they don't have it anymore, don't buy the reissue, or maybe they do have it. Either way, just don't buy the reissue. Buy the vintage version if you can, because one, pricing is going to be better, and two, quality of materials is also likely going to be better. I mean, right now, Toolbox is not available for Hermes, so you have to kind of go the vintage luxury route. On the plus side, when it's a unique style like this and it's not super popular, there's less likely to be a super fake of it. So Birkin, Kelly, Constance, no matter what date code is on the bag, it's a much higher chance of being fake than, say, a Toolbox. I mean, not to say there's not Toolbox fakes out there, but it's just the percentage-wise, it's just going to be a lot less because it's a lot less popular of a bag, which is another point, I think, for vintage luxury. If you want something kind of unique that you're not going to see around very much, I think vintage luxury is the way to go, because only a certain number were made, you know, back in the 2000s or the 90s. Production was still rather limited, and they are spending, you know, a lot more time making quality products. And then out of that subgroup, half, or I don't know, some fraction of that will be beat up, thrown away, lost in history, lost in time, just not available in the current market. And so then you have even a smaller subset then, and that to me makes it more exclusive. So to me, that's the appeal for vintage luxury. So vintage luxury compared to mid-range will have also better resale value. So if you take care of it, clean it up, do a good job, you know, you can probably sell it for almost as much as you paid. Depending on the trends, you could even possibly sell it for more. But mid-range, not so much. Like mid-range, there's sort of a limit on the resale value. You're never going to be able to sell it for more. Highly unlikely, unless production is severely limited by the brand and it's super popular. But very, like I said, unlikely. But some downsides for vintage luxury, the opposite side of the coin when comparing to mid-range, is that, you know, vintage luxury, you will have to probably maintain, you'll have to clean, or you're going to want to clean. Again, these are used bags, and if they're vintage, they're going to be used for a while, or, you know, they're going to be old. They might smell a little, so can't be squeamish about that. But, you know, if you're down to clean it, to maintain it, which I actually like to do, so I don't mind it at all, then, you know, vintage luxury is a great source. Oh, and also, again, if mid-range tends to be lighter, vintage luxury tends to be heavier. Even this bag here, it is a nylon bag, but with these leather straps, these chunky hardware, it is actually quite heavy for a nylon bag. I would say it's actually heavier than this full leather bag, which is made with lighter hardware. Interior is a cloth, and then the outside leather is probably a little bit thinner. Yeah, this is surprisingly heavy. Another point that I forgot to mention when it comes to mid-range luxury, if you are scared of getting fakes, if you're not confident in authentication services, and you just don't want to deal with tricky situations, then I would say go with mid-range. Not to say that there aren't mid-range fakes. So like Polène, I think the Numero Neuf, and maybe some other bags are so popular that they are now faked, in which case I would say just buy directly from the source. You know, hopefully they can tell their own bags apart and there's no returned fakes in their inventory, knock on wood. But for the most part, yeah, if you're going to get a mid-range bag, especially from brands, well, actually, I think even Songmont now is popular enough that it's faked. But some of these other brands, you know, they're not going to be. Fleuron, I don't think is faked. Michino's, I don't think is faked. So take it with a grain of salt. But for the most part, there is less fakes of mid-range bags than vintage luxury bags. Yeah, so I think that's it. Let me know, you know, for my fellow bag collectors, sort of what are your takes on vintage luxury versus mid-range? Which category do you prefer to buy from, and why? As for me, I love bags of all shapes and sizes and price points, so I don't think I would exclusively buy one or the other. I just love all bags. I'm an equal opportunity bag lover. Whenever I just feel that spark, just like I love it, you know? So yeah, I think that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you found this interesting or informative. And if you could give a like or subscribe, I would greatly appreciate it. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.